Welcome back to another thrilling episode of HardStuck. I'm your host, Nick Thug Nasty Lavid, and I couldn't be more excited to be joined by the incredible duo of Justin Meta Pusher Wilkes and J704 Not Found Burkholder. Strap in because we have another deep dive into an action-packed show that you won't want to miss. We're kicking things off with Recap Revive, where we relive all the jaw-dropping moments from this past week, and then get ready for Game Sense, where we predict what's coming up next. And finally, we go full send and share what's got us buzzing around the world of esports. But let's jump straight into Recap Revive. This weekend was nothing short of explosive with Counter-Strike, culminating in the epic battle that we all wanted to see with Vitality and Spirit this entire time. Heart-pounding semifinal clash. Vitality managed to get it in a nail-biting 13-10 on Mirage. Justin, what do you think was the game-changing moment in that series?
The game-changing moment, I really feel like it was probably map 3 once Spirit had taken that revenge map 2 back off. Vitality really came into like a new form there. They really looked insane right there. I really feel like Spirit potentially missed their opportunity to really take down a somewhat mortal-looking Vitality. They have not looked mortal in all their other matchups in the grand finals against Mouse that we've seen these past few tournaments. And so in the semifinal, the grand final that I wanted to see, feel like Spirit kind of let me down and missed that chance to beat them right there.
Yeah, sure. Jay, what did you think? What was the game-changing moment?
I think ZywOo stepping up. Yeah. I mean, which stepping up, you could say,
yeah.
But he always steps up, right?
Yeah.
So watching him just step up, frag out, get the team the win. I mean, I think we're seeing this continued narrative of a one-man band. When it comes to Spirit, every single time, it's like, well, Donk is stepping up and putting up the numbers, but where's the rest of the team? This one was actually interesting because ZywOo did the same thing, almost. I mean, I feel like Vitality, better team overall, so Spirit just lacking in the team sense, but you kind of saw the numbers of ZywOo and Donk battling it out as the one-man band for their team.
Yeah, that map 3 was tough. ZywOo put up some big numbers there, and really, Spirit probably should have won that one. If you look at how the map played out, Spirit won 4 of the first 5 rounds on both sides. So if we're talking like objective Counter-Strike logic, that should be a 1 game for Spirit. The fact that they win those first 4 and then run into the Vitality wall after, that's just ZywOo opening and destroying everybody, ripping heads off the server, it's tough. That's about all you can really hope for. I mean, if you take any IGL, any coach, and you say, hey, we're going to win 4 of the first 5 rounds, they're going to take that. It's such a favorable position, and even they couldn't overcome that against Vitality.
Yeah, the player stats were extremely close, but again, I think the running MVP for the past couple of events in ZywOo just took over and finally got it done. Hope we see many more of those Spirit Vitality matchups. But Jay, you're our die-hard Mouse fan. At least you've been talking about them for the past 5 weeks. Every time you get a chance to predict somebody, you've always got them up there. First at PGO Cluj-Napoca, second in ESL Season 21, second in Blast Lisbon. Do you think Mouse or Spirit can finally be the team to take down Vitality going forward?
I was really hoping for a different outcome this time. I will say there's a much different outcome than the last matchup between Vitality and Mouse. Mouse putting up a fight here. We got to that game 3 and Mouse put it out. And the hope in that moment, that was like, okay, they just need one more map. Just one more map. Come on, guys, like hold it out. And then for game 4 and 5 to go the way it did, I just feel like Vitality, they took a couple timeouts, they took a couple breathers, and they said, okay, we're going to lock back in. We're going to be the same team that's been dominating everyone over the last season. And I do think that Mouse has the potential here. I think they showed us the potential that they can beat Vitality, that there will be a different story going forward. I don't think that Spirit has shown us that same truth. I mean, again, Mouse objectively over the last 3 months has been better than Spirit. At least, over the last 2 months, I'll say. Because in those matchups against Spirit, they proved they're a better team. They're better at team fights. Against Vitality, Vitality's just more dominant against both teams.
Yeah, Justin, I don't want to steal your thunder and jump in here, but I'm looking at the stats one more time. And if it was a grand final that was a best of 3, let's not be short. Mouse won it. Mouse was up 2-1 in this series after they got 13-0'd on Inferno. True. So to me, it might be Mouse, but I'm still hoping for Spirit. Justin, who do you think is going to finally take down Vitality?
I think it's going to be Mouse. I have to give my favor to the team that plays fundamentals and is like a more of a complete team.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do think Spirit is one of the teams where when their downside players, Magisk and Chopper, are playing good, they really can go toe to toe with Vitality in a way that Mouse can't. So maybe there's something for Spirit to learn from the Mouse playbook, the way that they kind of cover for their stars when they're playing down, the way they have like a lot of very complicated sets and deep strategy. I feel like if Spirit can look at that, steal some of that little magic that Mouse has going on, then they could be the one to do it. But Mouse looks really solid. I like that we have Vitality as a really solid one, and then these two contrasting styles both chasing them in the kind of hard to define 2 and 3 slot there.
Yeah, it's great seeing both teams take it to the final map in each series against Vitality. And again, looking at these player ratings for Maus in the grand finals, it's only Sphinx is the only person that's got over a 1 player rating and everybody else. But again, to Justin's point, it's the lacking consistency on the side of Spirit from those 2, maybe even 3 players to get them over that final thing. I want it to be Spirit, but I think it's going to be Maus as well taking them down. And when, not even sure, because unfortunately, the next CS event doesn't even include the likes of Vitality, Maus, Spirit. A lot of the top dogs are out of this next event, so might be a while before we get to see another rematch between Vitality and Maus. But switching gears onto Valorant Champions Tour America's weekend number 2, it's a wrap. Jay, what do you make of the Sentinels' shocking 0-2 defeat to Crew? Was it just a fluke? Or something bigger at play?
I don't want to say it was just a fluke. I think that Crew has just been adjusting to the new meta very well. It sucks because like the Sentinels, they haven't been playing at their best, obviously, in the last month or so. We know this. Yet against 100 Thieves, they look really good. They're playing the meta. They're doing fine. But against Crew just comes out playing better overall. Sentinels could not retake sites very well. Crew actually adapted using the Taeho and Yoru meta to hold sites and take angles off of Sentinels. The big thing here is Kesnet, this is like his first time playing Yoru at this level, and he is awesome the whole series. So I don't know, I feel like it's not objectively the Sentinels' fault as much as it is Crew coming out and showing us what kind of team that they can be. And overall, playing better as a team. There's no like star standouts here versus the Sentinels, who obviously rely sometimes on Zelsis and Zekin to stand up.
Yeah, relying on Zelsis didn't quite work out this weekend, dropping a 0.52 in the series. Justin, what happened?
I think it was just really Crew kind of seizing the moment. They found a favorite team who was playing bad on a day when they're playing up, and they really took advantage of it. Kesnet, like you said, Jay, looked really, really good. Mazzino on the breach, both games, looked insane, setting plays up really well, making space for that duelist to follow in afterwards. So I think it was just right time, right place. I don't know if we run this back, if it's going to go the same way. I wouldn't be too surprised because, like, if you just look at that small sample size, Crew looked really, really good. Like, I would not have expected them to throw that out there. So if they can keep it going and they can keep running through, maybe catch another team off guard maybe this week. I think they have a fairly easy matchup coming in this next week. So the next big matchup they have, another big performance, another big upset. I'm ready to say Crew's a top team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was quick because to be honest, looking
if
at
it comes to it though, like I said, I need one more big one and I'm down.
Yeah, I think when you have 5 or 6 weekends of Valorant Champions Tour, I think everybody's bound to have at least one off week, and I think this was Sentinel's off week. I don't want to call it a fluke because, like Jay was saying, it kind of pays some disrespect to Crew. However, I think they caught Sentinel sleeping and took advantage of it, no question about it. But Justin, aside from that stunning upset, what else surprised you from this past weekend?
So
was it pretty cookie cutter?
No, there were some surprises.
Okay.
I was really excited to watch the C9 and the Leviathan match. I thought that was going to be fairly competitive and we were going to get to see some good matchups there, but it really was not competitive at all. Leviathan kind of got ran around both maps. It started out fairly close on split, 8-4, about as reasonable as you can hope for, and then things really fell apart. I thought Rossi played pretty solid on the first one, but the rest of his team just fairly dropped the ball, and then coming into Ascent, it got real messy for Leviathan. They must have had some interesting read on scrims and their strategy for this week. They had Demon 1 playing Smokes and King playing the Duelist. Didn't look comfortable on either side of those. They started out 11-1 on the first half, and I mean, yeah, that's a hole that is very difficult to dig your way out of, and they didn't have the shovel for it today.
Yeah, producer Pat, you hear that? Leviathan still not looking well. We're going to need you to get down there and coach them up a little bit. But Jay, what was your surprise of the weekend?
That was actually my surprise as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, it's like C9 is looking very good, but Leviathan is looking bad. Sorry, Leviathan,
Wow.
but you were looking terrible.
Producer Pat might come in here.
I dare you to. Demon 1 seems like he's on a team not surrounded by other demons. And I think we're going to see that storyline continued over the next few weeks, because what it's looking like is this is a team built around a superstar, and it's not a group of players, or sorry, it's not a team, it's a group of players. And they're looking decent in some of these team fights. But again, like you said, if you're going to have Demon 1 frag out, put him on Duelist or Initiator, please. What are we doing here? And then as far as C9 goes, again, I would say C9 is top 3 in the league right now. And I think, and I know we've only been 2 weeks in, right?
Yeah.
But over the next few weeks, I think that C9, if they win on some of these matchups, if they beat Furia, if they beat MIBR next week,
yeah,
it's looking really good for them, especially come playoffs. And you know who's not looking good for is some of our superstars like Sentinels.
Opportunity. That's what we call that for C9.
Leaving that door open a little bit, and again, looking at the leaderboard here for group standing so far, everybody's lost a map. Crew's lost a map, Cloud9's lost a map, G2's lost a map, and those are our 3 2-0s, but they've all lost a map, so even those at the top are still beatable, and we got plenty of weekends left ahead. But hang tight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Hello, it's your boy Patrick, host of Skill Diff, here to tell you why you should watch our show, Skill Diff, because we talk about the greatest topics from Counter-Strike to League of Legends to Call of Duty to Valorant, and all you need to know, along with our good segment called Buy Sell. Come check it out over here on the GGN network.
Welcome back to HardStuck. Now let's get into game sense. With Call of Duty keeping us on their toes, there's been a ton of moves left and right. With roster lock coming up April 1st at 9 a.m., we're eagerly waiting some big announcements while some already has came out. Justin, which team and individual do you think will make the biggest difference on their new squad?
Well, it's an individual that we've talked a lot about recently and a team that we haven't talked too much about. It's Kenny going potentially to the Rocker. I don't know, what's been finalized, what's been announced, so I'll just throw that potentially in there just to CYA a little bit.
We don't want the lawyers breathing down our
That's right. So I think Kenny's going to be the individual who makes the biggest impact. I think that this Rocker lineup needs a veteran, needs someone who can kind of guide them. They had that with Paul X before, but I feel like objectively, if you look at Kenny versus Paul, it's a big upgrade getting Kenny. And if you take a world champion who's just coming off of a bad season, put him in a new environment, get a big old chip on his shoulder to kind of fire him up, I think that this could be a big jump for the Rocker and potentially a big resurgence for Kenny. I'm flipping the whole script on my judgment for him. I was so negative before. I think I made a dumb joke about they had to drop somebody whose name rhymed with Vinny. But I'm on the Kenny hype train now. He's my pick.
Now we're back. And speaking of shoulders, maybe not everybody's built to handle the green wall, and if he did handle it, he might not have handled it for long. So I think, without under the nose of Hex and breathing over his shoulder every little bit, I think Kenny's gonna flourish.
We'll get him a Viking helmet. We'll get him a Viking helmet.
Sounds amazing. Jay, how about you? Who's gonna stand out on their new squad?
Yeah, well, speaking of Optic, I mean, Hugh is coming back.
So
right?
No surprise there, right?
So no surprise. I mean, I just think it's going to be more comfortable of a roster. Obviously, that's what they've been looking for a long time now with the roster changes that were made over the last few weeks. So, honestly, we'll see. I think it's going to be, again, more comfortable. It's going to feel like it did in previous years of Optic. And with Kenny gone, I mean, again, I hope Kenny does well with the rest of his career, but it's not at Optic.
Totally understand, and I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball here. I know we said individual, but I see Falcons making a bunch of changes, and I think that's what's kind of behind the scenes kept a lot of moves from not going public just yet because they haven't sure up what they're gonna do. But I think they're gonna put 3 big names next to XNIT, and I think it's a team to watch out for sure. So I'm leaning Vegas Falcons on biggest impact going into major number 3. But Jay, going into weekend number 1 of the major qualifier. Which underdog do you think is poised to pull off a stunning upset this weekend?
I'm excited for Toronto Ultra versus FaZe. I think Ultra has been looking incredible over the last few weeks. At least at the last minor we had and major, they've been putting up incredible numbers. They're a good team. Beans looking great. So FaZe, I think you're going down this time, actually. I think you're no longer the top dogs as we go out in the rest of the year.
Okay, that is a bold prediction. Justin, what about you?
That's a bold claim. I like the prediction, though, because I do feel like the Ultra kind of leveled up at this LAN, and now they're back online. Maybe FaZe relax a little bit. So I like the prediction. The claim at the end of maybe FaZe not being top dog anymore, I'll hold off there. For me, I'm going to go with a later one, a Sunday matchup. I'm going with the Surge over the Thieves. Now, when you look at this matchup, it might not be one that is like standings-wise, the biggest potential upset, but I think when we're coming off of LAN, coming back to online, we're expecting to see the LA Thieves dominate once again. So I think this is my pick for the upset. I think the Surge looked really good, usually look pretty solid online, could cause some damage here.
Yeah, well, you guys went upset. You did not hold back. Talking about the number 1 and number 2 clear and by far throughout the entire year. However, I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to go Vegas Falcons. Whatever roster they put together behind XNID, there's a lot of big names floating around, but I think they're going to get their first win against the Miami Heretics on Saturday afternoon.
No shot versus the Surge on Friday?
Nah, the Surge are going to no matter who you put up against them on the Surge are going to win that one. So
I believe
Pick'ems, that's an easy one on Friday. But Saturday, especially after they get a series under their belt outside of scrims, they're going to come into Saturday strong against Miami.
Do you think the Heretics are fodder, or you just think that during this match, they're going to have a better team?
I think during this match, they're going to have the better team. Gotcha. No question about it. But for Valorant, weekend number 3 is right around the corner. Jay, what matchups are you keeping a close eye on there?
There's a lot to look forward to this week. EG versus Sen is going to be a great matchup. For one, it's, again, past rosters facing current rosters. But then EG really needs to step up here. Both teams actually really need to step up here because they're both 1-1 currently. Again, only been 2 weeks. But as we're looking at playoffs coming up here in just 2 more weeks after this one, it's like you guys really have to step it up here. Sentinels, I really want to see more from them coming off this 0-2 from last weekend. And then like EG, I just want to see more from this roster. Last year they were so good. The year before that they were pretty good. And it's like this year against Sentinels, step it up. So that's my main one I'm looking at. I'm also looking at 2G and Crew because these are 2 historical, not very good teams. Now they're both looking like they could be at the top of the league, depending on who they go against in these next few weeks. But they've gotten some wins under their belt. They're looking strong. I'm liking the rosters.
Yeah, I think Crew poked the bear. That is Sentinel. So it's a matchup to watch, but I think it's going to be a little one-sided, unfortunately. And it's looking like the league overall is pretty close, but I think that one's going to get a little messy.
We'll see.
Justin.
My pick's going to be, I do agree. Once again, Jay, give great analysis. I love those NA versus NA matchups. My pick, though, to watch is going to be C9 versus MIBR. I think it's a match with a fair bit of stakes considering these are 2 teams that I think are pretty high up in the standings.
Yeah.
C9, we've talked a bunch about already on this episode. MIBR, they're 1-1, but their one loss was a very closely contested match versus G2, taking that map off them. They looked pretty good. Verno looking very positive. I'm liking the upside that this team has, and I don't know if they're going to beat C9 because I am a little bit on the C9 hype train, same as Jay, but I think it could be another sick match, hoping for a 2-1, Game 3, potentially go in C9's favor, but not an upset prediction, but I think it'll be a hype match to watch. You're going to want to watch that one.
So what was Jay, I must have missed it. What is your prediction for Sentinels EG?
I think Sentinels are going to come out on top. I think that they had a bit of a down week, right? Now, against EG, they have a chance to show like, hey, look, we actually are still good. And I think like EG, I think this will be a 2-1, right? I think EG will get a map off them.
Wow.
But Sentinels, again, I think they're going to return from this week. They're going to get some VOD review in. They're going to get some coaching in. And they're going to say, okay, we're not the same team where we were last week. Let's finish this out.
Awesome. I think real quick, just to stack your pick, I'm going to go Sentinels 2-0 over EG. Individual round count, 26-6.
Wow. That was
Not
very
even
specific.
close.
Hey, we'll see next week.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But also, I'm keeping my
Nostradamus.
I'll make Pat's pick for him. G2 versus Leviathan. It's looking like a quick 0-3 for Leviathan overall in group standings. Unfortunately, sorry.
I thought you meant in the series.
0-3.
They're going to get 0-3 in the best of 3.
They're playing a best of 5 just because they want to, right? But hey, stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome. Today, I'm the real host of Queued Up, Davis Tadlock, aka Tad from the show. And I'm here to tell you why you should watch our show, Queued Up. Queued Up is a fun, but still entertaining talk show, basically, where we go through the core main esports of Call of Duty, League of Legends, Valorant, and CS2. We do touch some other esports around, but also this show is mainly to give you opinions from analysts. It's not based on statistics, so there's a little bit more emotion, a little bit more narrative behind everything. It's a fun atmosphere. Come check us out.
Welcome back to HardStuck, everybody, and it's time to full send, and let's get right into it. Justin, what is lighting a fire under you in League of Legends right now?
Well, it's not the matches happening because we're in a little bit of a downswing following first stand. We're trying to get regular seasons running again, get back into MSI and stuff. There's been a whole lot of new patch changes. We've seen the changes to lane swapping, which kind of just strong arm prevent people from lane switching in the first 4 minutes, the first 2 or 3 levels. And we've seen a lot of new balance stuff coming out that's affecting the beginning matches in the league. The rise of some new champions, Neferi, who you guys have probably never even heard of, Gwen, Lilia, Zed, Dr. Mundo, so many options. Neferi is this assassin. It's a big dog. We love dogs. And been reworked to slightly be played in the jungle. Looks crazy OP. There's some insane clips from the LPL of 17-0-4. Just wow. Neferi's just completely running the game against good teams too. So this character is one that you will 100% see. The other options in there, maybe not so much. They're a little bit more niche. Gwen, seriously buffed up in the top lane, able to be played in top and jungle. And then there's a whole smattering of random ones who got little small buffs that we see a little bit, but probably won't change a thing. Lilia, Zed, Dr. Mundo. I've heard there's rumors of a Yorick rework coming in the next patch, not the one that's currently live, that could have some big impacts. So a lot of new things being thrown into the scene out there.
Yeah, Jay, Justin, do you think we're going to see Fury in MSI coming up?
Yes.
Or is it no question?
Yeah, I think the only thing that would stop Neferi from being played in MSI and in all these leagues is if he gets severely nerfed, because that character is not balanced. It's getting played and banned pretty much every match, and people will get a little bit more adjusted to playing against him, but players will also get more adjusted to playing him and controlling all those dogs. There's a lot of micro mechanics involved with that guy.
Since one of the coolest things about League of Legends right now is the Fearless Draft, is this somebody that you're going to play early or maybe a little bit later down the road?
I think it's one that you would play early if you get the chance, but for our casual league viewers, you're not going to see it till late in the series because it's something that people are going to want to ban in the early games. It's not until the later ones when you're like, oh, I don't have as many options here. Maybe I need to ban something else. Maybe we'll let Neferi up, which is kind of counterintuitive because then he'll be playing against weaker characters. Potentially,
definitely be a difference
and then
maker,
even more dominating, could provide a big advantage to whoever's on that blue side and gets first pick.
Yeah, no, I think Fearless Draft in the champion tweaks are only going to make for an interesting event back as soon as we get it. Jay, what's been catching your attention in the esports world?
Well, right now I'm really excited for Apex.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will be at LAN in New Orleans May 4th and 5th. I'm excited for that.
Can't wait.
Throw some beads at him.
I will. I'm going to be celebrating the New Orleans way while I'm there, and also watching some great Apex. This is an unprecedented LAN, 160 teams on LAN. Just actually insane. I don't know from a logistics standpoint how they're going to do it, but I'm excited to see it. But I do know going into next week what it looks like leading up to that LAN, and that is the Apex Pro League Split 1 that is starting. Starts on April 6th. And this is exciting because we've got essentially 3 groups of 10 who are mixed matching in this triple round robin series playing against each other. Again, it's traditional Apex 6-game series. So every time they play against each other, it's a 6-game series on 2 to 3 maps. And I'm also super excited for the maps because E-District is coming back from last LAN to this LAN. This is one of the first times that E-District has been played in professional play, and it is a wonderful map to play on. There's lots of height. There's lots of cool buildings to swing from and jump from. So the level of play is super interesting, especially considering that the meta from last season has changed from a bubble and defense meta where we just wall up and hole ourselves in to a movement meta. So now we've got a lot of assault and skirmisher legends who are moving and zipping across that map, and so fights are really quick. Fights are really fast-paced, and I think that's going to be a lot better of a watch for a lot of people, especially for those of you out there who don't traditionally watch or like Apex. This is going to be a much better viewing experience because it's not just teams holding themselves up, right? It's teams taking fights, teams outplaying each other with their movement and their tactics. Super exciting stuff. Again, I just can't be more excited for this season of Apex.
Yeah, and Jay, just to clarify, I know we were just talking about the Fearless Draft when it comes to League of Legends. I heard they're implementing something new for Apex as well, as the most picked champion there as well will be banned going forward. Is that going to be at New Orleans? Are they going to be using that format?
Correct. We're even implementing that at the college level. We're seeing Octane Collegiate, and I believe NACE as well, implementing the legend bans. And so that's super exciting to see is as we get into this pro play, we're not going to see the same types of metas that we've seen in the past where, yeah, if Gibby is broken, we're going to see a 98% pick rate of Gibby. Or if Seer is broken, we're seeing a million Seer Qs being thrown out, right? So I'm super excited for this, especially because what does this mean during such a big LAN, a large LAN like this? How many legends are we going to see? Are we going to see all legends being picked potentially?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the meta will always leave 2 or 3 legends kind of like out of it completely with a 0.1% pick rate. There were seasons where my main Lifeline was at the 0.1% pick rate. I understand how that works. But when it comes to this one, we're not going to see a million Gibbies every round. We're going to see Loba picked once and then banned going forward.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for that.
Will the map changes matter? Will it's like, say if I pick a Zoomer and Thumer on the one map you were speaking of, and then they're banned for the next where they weren't really gonna get used? Is it? I'm trying to think of the easy counter for that. If the map changes and an agent isn't as good on a certain map, will it even matter if they're banned for one over the other?
Right, so in Apex, there's different classes. And so you could say right now, since the skirmisher and assault classes are so buffed, defense as well, you could say that, okay, we're in a 6-game series, we're going to have 5 legends out of a class completely banned. We could almost see a whole class banned.
Wow.
I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think we have light and huge buffs, depending on which of these classes there is. We've got enough light and heavy buffs here that, like, okay, we're going to see Gibby banned from one map. We're going to see Rampart banned from one map. And then we're going to see Loba banned. And then we're going to see Ashe banned. I don't think we're going to have, the meta completely shifted in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll be curious to see it. And as a casual for both of those games myself, the Fearless Draft and the agent bans for Apex definitely has me interested going forward. But everybody knows what time it is when it's time for me to talk. We're talking some Halo. We got the FaZe Kason showdown. Normally I'd be a little grumpy about an invitational, not getting personally invited myself. However, as the kid looking in through the glass, I couldn't be more excited that it was the top 4 teams right now without a question, finally battling it out this year on LAN. Holding the number 1 seed, Shopify had an interesting choice. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they got to pick their round 1 opponent. Talk about playing mind games early on. They picked Space Station Gaming. Didn't fire Space Station Gaming up. They got quick 3-0, dropped down to the losers bracket with the quickness. However, turned out to be an electrifying winners bracket as Optic then therefore had to face FaZe, given the other 2 teams that were left, in what closer than appeared to be a 3-1 win for Optic. But again, all 4 maps were extremely close and could have went either way, setting the stage for a highly anticipated winners finals with Shopify and Optic. Yet again, we've seen it almost 6 weeks in a row, but we get to see it again. Optic taking Game 5 Solitude Slayer with a solid 50-37 win. Shopify drop into the lowers bracket. They're like, wait, maybe it's Optic's weekend. You wait. In the lower bracket, SSG took FaZe down 3-1, and then Shopify swept SSG yet again 3-0. Unfortunately, there's our top 2. There's our next 2, and then there's everybody else right now in Halo. But going away from the double elimination format, which we've talked about previously on what should you get for coming out of winners bracket, they didn't get jack diddly. They had a thrilling best of 7 grand finals and a nail-biting finale. Shopify delivered an edge-of-your-seat performance, winning Game 7 Slayer 50-44 on Origin. Shopify's just been unstoppable lately, bagging 2 of 3 opens, the major qualifier, and now the phase case on Showdown. They're the clear favorite heading into the Optic Major, and there's no question about it.
I've been hearing some good things about it. Yeah, what makes them so dominant?
I think it's the mix of veteran and young. They have 2 veterans in the scene, and Frosty and Royal too, and they've got 2 young guns in Cycle and Last Shot, and it's the right balance of speed, it's the right balance of decision making, and they've just, to be honest, and I'm not calling the other slacker because I'm close friends with a lot of them on all of these teams. However, Shopify was the one team that was laboring out all of these off-season tournaments. Just they were putting in the work early and they were putting in the work often, and the other teams were waiting till late January, early February to get started, and now everybody's got to play catch up and nobody's catching up. Optic's close, but second place Optic has been what it's been for. It was all of last year. They made a big roster change, and going into some off-season lands and some major qualifiers, it's unfortunately the same recipe of unsuccess for Optic.
Optic has some insane players, but it seems like they really struggle to play as a team, right?
Yeah. Well, making the I don't know if you guys heard that they made a change from their coach Tusk into Lunchbox, and they're just
not the same.
They're not the same, and I think the Lunchbox method of thinking is a little bit differently. So then you got to get all 4 of them on pace, and again, you're just trying to play the catch-up game, and unfortunately, I don't know if they have enough time with the major coming up right around the corner. But that is a wrap on another exhilarating episode of HardStuck. Can't wait to dive back into the action with more electrifying discussions with you all next week. Until next time.